Hey, this is episode 6 of Boulder with Alan Goya,
Travis Robinson,
and Frankie Ricky. Harry. And our special guest today at Boulder is Aaron Meadow with Meadowlark Laboratories, the newest business in Boulder City. Aaron,
thank you.
Just because usually our first question is, is what your big dream is for Boulder City. But first, I want to tell us about your business, because I don't think these guys even know what your business is.
Yeah, so Meadowlark Labs manufactures and sells, doesn't manufacture, they sell breast milk. And so part of that sales of it, we take milk from moms that pump at home. They freeze it in little bags in their freezer, and then they put it in coolers and ship it to us. So then once we get it at our facility, then we process it, we test it, we process it, we put it in little pouches, and then sterilize it, ship it out the door to mainly hospitals, about 98%.
Yeah, I was I had breast milk when I was a kid. How about you guys? Yeah, I've turned out fine. Yeah, it worked for me. So Aaron, what is your big dream for Boulder City?
That's been a tough question that I've been trying to figure out. I think that for me it would be to turn Boulder into an adrenaline junkie paradise.
Oh wow, yeah, adrenaline junkie paradise. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that. There's a lot of desert people out here.
Yeah, so I feel like we're almost there. Like the drag strip that's not here, and then like a proper trophy truck course, and all these like extreme adventures. Kind of like the top 15 bucket list items should all be here.
Huh. So what are I remember yesterday or the other day you asked me, we're set at Bullocksville, and you said, have you ever skydived out there? I remember you asking me that.
Yeah.
You ever wanted to do that? So is that one of the things on the bucket list? So what are the 15 things on the bucket list?
Well, I think we were...
as adrenaline junkie, what do you crave?
Well, I think that some of the things that we already have, is like, you can go shoot the machine gun. You can go ride a trophy truck, would be super sweet. You can go drag like some ridiculous 0 to 60 time, 1 second or something. Yeah. And then, we got, all the stuff on the lake. There's, we already have the zip line. I feel like we're, 6 things away from being there,
Oh, yeah. I'm sure we already have skydiving here, don't we?
Right, yeah. So. Yes, there's a lot of them. That's why I was like, well, it's a pretty obtainable and achievable. Yeah. Some of it will be a little nuisance, but we got so much desert, put those trophy trucks way out there, and it's not going to bother anybody. Yeah.
Well, kids around here used to go cliff diving. You could go cliff diving,
Yeah, that's another great one, right? Jump off a 100-foot cliff.
Cliff into a 3-foot pool or something like that.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. Huh. Pretty cool. Yeah. So so what other like drag racing and so like. Yeah, why adrenaline? What's so great about it,
Well, Boulder's really trying to become, the destination. And so I feel like, somebody that's going to Vegas, because I feel like that's probably the majority of our pull, right? It's people that are already in Vegas. And so we already are trying to get all those people with these, the dam tours and Grand Canyon, and they fly out right here. But if there was more things like that for them, people are renting these Ferraris. They're driving all the way over, getting a helicopter ride all the way to Grand Canyon. They see a sign, go drive a trophy truck. They have trophy trucks in North Vegas, but we're not getting the pull in Boulder.
So is that so I'm kind of getting a sense
morning, guys.
Morning.
So what's the word of the day?
What's the word? Hey, you got to come back here. I tell you what, you're here on our show every Monday, so I'm Alan. I'm Art. Art, this is Travis. Travis, this is Aaron.
Hi, nice to meet you.
I'm Frankie.
Frankie, since you come in every day and you say good morning, you have the greatest wave. You just give us. You deserve the thought of the day. So Art, if you could come in every morning, not only wave and your thought of the day, I think it'd be great. So what's your thought of the day?
When I think about that when I get up in the morning.
Oh, okay.
What's the word for the day?
It's perfect. Yeah.
That was it.
Great.
Next time I'll tell you
What
thought.
So by definition, an adrenaline junkie activity is not something that you're looking at your telephone while you're doing, right? That's kind of the definition. Right. If you have,
tripping down some stairs.
right. If you're on your phone, then it's not an adrenaline junkie activity. Probably.
I think that's fair to say.
Right, yeah.
Unless you're VR with your phone on your legs and you're skydiving.
Huh. So what else? Yeah. What else, I mean, what kind of adrenaline things have you guys done? I mean, what is like your biggest adrenaline rushes?
What's your
What's your biggest adrenaline rushes?
That's a great question.
It's always just been extreme sports. So whether it's snowboarding or skating or downhill mountain biking, but really the extreme level of it, jumping off roofs and cliffs and things like that. But I've always wanted to do more.
Roofs and cliffs. Oh, those are quite a variety.
So
where were you landing after you jumped off the roof? I just went.
So usually like transitions or something.
I mean, I jumped when I was a kid. I jumped off a roof too. When I was probably 5, I jumped off my roof in Hawaii. Yeah, and I jumped into a kind of this succulent tropical plant. That was one of my mom's favorite, which she was thankful that I didn't get killed, but she was really pissed that I killed her plant, But it did save my life because I was trying to jump off a roof with an umbrella.
You're trying to compensate.
Yeah, this is pre-Mary Poppins, just to let you know. But it was.
I think they owe you some royalties for that.
Yeah. But I did crush a plant.
So my ultimate that I've really wanted to do is with a mountain bike off of a cliff into a squirrel suit and cruise it for a while. That's like what I've always really wanted to do.
Yeah?
That would be pretty.
Yeah, and I was always thinking like, some type of flip, some type of double backflip or something, and then cruise it right on.
Do you have experience with like squirrel suits?
I do not. No,
Squirrel suit?
I would love to though.
Yeah. What is the squirrel suit thing?
It's
Tell
like
us about it.
it's like you can basically like cruise laterally.
Oh, that kind of squirrel. Oh,
yeah.
Wings.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, the guy, the Grand Canyon guy. Yeah. Ah.
So I don't know. The older I get, the more kids I have.
Bullwinkle.
Yeah.
Like Rocky.
Yeah.
Like Rocky.
Yeah.
I can see Rocky. Yeah. Right.
I used to go tubing at like 60 miles an hour in Lake Wisconsin. That was crazy.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, my dad hit this one wave and I flew up like 15 feet in the air and I rolled on top of the water for about 60 feet. It was crazy.
You ever do the flying tubes?
Oh no, I haven't done that.
Yeah. The one like a bunch of people died on.
Yeah.
I was barely there, and I don't know, I'm like 18 years old. My dad just had the boat going full board, and I'm like, I need to go for a sink for that, but it was fun. You punch the water, it feels like you're punching a concrete. Yeah, it's pretty fun.
That's pretty fast.
So is there like there's this zone? Okay, what's the difference between like an adrenaline rush and like peeing in your pants? Because is there like that level?
It's like control of like you kind of know what's going on, but at the same time where you're.
I mean, yeah. Well, it's out of control,
very
right?
alert.
If you're peeing in your pants, you're out of control. That's by definition, right? Is that what it means?
You have no control.
You have no control. So, I mean, do you want to get to that level? You want to just approach that level?
You want to ride that line.
That line
Just
before you
ride that
pee in
line.
your pants, but it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, what it is? Okay.
So what's like your most adrenaline-filled moment? Like for instance, mine was running with the Bulls in Pamplona
Wow.
for San Fermin, and that was like the pinnacle, like the most adrenaline I've ever had in my life. So like, what's that for you?
I would say the thrill, kind of riding that edge, but it's probably was downhill mountain biking, or I used to call it urban assault, to where you take a 8-inch travel or a 6-inch travel bike, and then you do stair drops and you do wall rides, and I always really loved. I guess it comes down to like street gaps, and usually the street gaps are a little more dangerous because you're always going into like a street where cars are.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been hit like 3 times.
So you're close to peeing in your pants, potentially.
Yeah,
You're halfway there. Like,
Yeah.
So one time I got hit by the lady I was renting a room from, and she had Alzheimer's, and so she was like, she hit me, I like totally like got jacked across her hood, and I fell to the ground. She's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'll give you free rent." And then it was like, so I was like, all right. I was like, okay, cool. That's good because I was like really tight and I was young. And then she forgot. I was like, like totally jacked, you know.
Yeah.
So
No, you agreed.
yeah. And so yeah, that was. But yeah, so that I guess that's what it would be.
Yeah, I have the proof. Here are the bruises.
Yeah.
It's still embedded in my side.
Don't remember, yeah. That's my saliva on your foot. Huh. Okay. Huh? Well, go ahead.
I was gonna go for question 2.
Go for question 2.
Okay. So, Aaron, what is your superpower?
That's a tough one as well. So I think that it's probably that, and I know this is a big statement, but I feel like with time and money, I could make almost anything happen.
Like time and money, okay. Well, first, how much time?
A lot.
Oh, how much money?
A lot.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's a good estimate. that's a great budget. I like that budget.
Well, it depends on the ask. You know what I mean? If you're saying a facility,
Yeah.
you know, I can give you very
Oh,
definitive answers. But if you're talking about curing cancer, that will take a little longer.
Or build a
you know?
pyramid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about building a pyramid. I think that's maybe the almost in a thing. That's a
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
can you
That's
get
just brute force right there.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the slave labor, you know, is kind of like politically kind of incorrect. Kind of like got to work through it. And, you know.
I would sub that portion out to you.
So, but okay. That's right. We just got a third world dictator to like kind of a Kim Jong. You know, maybe that's what Trump is trying to do or something like that.
Hey, depend on how low minimum wage you'll get.
Yeah.
It's borderline slavery.
Well, I heard one of your okay. It's like you know, I don't think it's. I think it's really important because it comes to the key to like you do a consumer product basically. You know, I mean it's a consumer product, and a lot of times the consumer product we forget the basics of consumer product. But I understand one of the things you do is that you're in charge of taste. For the breast milk, which I think is really important. It's a little weird, but I think it's really important. You know what I mean? And that's maybe your superpower. So what makes good breast milk tasty?
What makes mother's milk?
Yeah, right. Like
The al
thing.
dente.
I mean, because that is I could not judge it. You know, like even wine today. You know, I mean, it's like somebody said, "This is good." As you know, it's all relative. You know, aroma, nutty. Chewy, whatever it is, you know. It's beautiful. But so how do you?
So it's all diet.
It's all diet.
Yeah. So it just depends on what the mom eats is how it's going to taste.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then it also depends. I mean, when a mom's much younger, when her baby's much younger, it will be a lot more concentrated than when she has been pumping for 2 years or whatever.
Really? Is it? I mean, is it a higher concentrate of certain elements, but it's kind of like.
Yeah, it has more colostrum on the first
what's the
90 days, roughly.
Like? Is it sweet or?
Yeah, it's really sweet. Really, a lot of sugar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, HMOs.
Now, how would you
human milk,
describe it?
oligosaccharides.
You know, in kind of like wine terms. You know, like fruity, nutty, with a touch of caramel. You know.
Or do you just make up terms like
Just
you
kinda-
go, just like
yeah.
in wine?
Like like in wine or.
Yeah, it's not really like that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, that's a really tough one. I wouldn't be able to say.
Superpower. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's like what is that? Yeah. What is the base taste or
I would say that the number one thing that hits your mouth is just how the human milk oligosaccharides, which is just a lot of sweet, because there's lactose in it and there's a lot of oligosaccharides, so it's sweet.
Are you looking for like a certain concentration in every single bottle? Because you said like earlier it's more concentrated, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
we actually will alter the concentration depending on what our end user needs, and so we'll just take all of that and do a series of processing steps to achieve those different concentration levels. And so
is it homogeneous? You want the kind of same consistent product, or you have a lot of specialized products?
yeah, we mainly have specialized products, and for our business, it's really we're serving babies that are under 2,500 grams, so like premature babies in the NICU, and that's about 98% of our business.
Yeah, you once told me about part of the argument. Insurance company pays for a lot of this milk, right?
No.
Oh no.
No, not yet. We're not quite there. There's some insurance has paid for a little bit, but it's by no means.
The survival rate was much better with mother's milk and.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But it goes on the daily expense of the hospital. It doesn't go on insurance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that would be nice for that to change because there's a much bigger need.
Yeah. Huh. Well, I don't know. I think you have more superpowers than that. Obviously, because adrenaline is a very, very powerful, drug, and similar. But what do you think? What do you have when you have an adrenaline that makes you super? That's something to do with superpower. Adrenaline is a very strong drug, and you can do all kinds of things. And, I can imagine all kinds of things going through your mind. Yeah, or mind, or what does that do? Like when that moment is happening, is that part of your superpowers, or do you become more superpower when you have that adrenaline kick in? Is there something that happens to you, a revelation that you get?
I just think that it's addicting. You start to feel that much adrenaline, and especially being I'm not necessarily a young male anymore, but when I was a younger testosterone-driven male, I think the combination played hand in hand.
It's like these guys, he's kind of more testosterone-driven male right now. You're in your testosterone-driven male phase.
No, I would say no.
No, you're not.
I think that the testosterone drives you to the adrenaline, and then the adrenaline just kind of like really is the addicting part,
For me, it's like, I don't know. I just like to lift heavy things, and that's what it is for me. Like,
oh yeah.
And then I like to take on projects that are pretty big. Like my shed project was huge. I had to I pretty much did the whole thing myself, and basically brought the 4x8 sheets of plywood to the roof, everything. Yeah, I could have fell off that ladder, but guess what? It was exciting. That's why I did it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to paint the side of my house and not trying to get killed, I've gotten like a third of that one side, and I was trying to convince my sons, because we had all this climbing equipment that, from our climbing days, and I said, I'll just rappel you off the house and you can paint the second floor. And somehow they haven't latched on to the idea. I thought
that's a great idea.
I said, why do you get all the scaffolding and stuff? We get all this rappelling gear, I'll just belay you off the top. We got three, and you could paint the roof. Paint the side of the house.
You could even set up a little thing where he controls himself. You
Yeah,
don't even have to repel him. He can
yourself
repel himself and
yeah.
just lock himself off.
Yeah. Jared Friday, their parents have a house up in Bryan Head, on the side of the mountain, one of those, mountain houses on the side of a cliff, and he convinced his parents to buy him climbing and rappelling equipment so they paint his house. I don't think he ever painted the house, but he did get the climbing and rappelling equipment.
Now he can go out.
Have you ever done climbing, rappelling?
No.
Oh no? Oh,
Never.
that's a good adrenaline rush, junkie kind of thing.
So what inspired you to get into the breast milk industry? How did that come along? I'm just wondering.
Yeah, so my mom started a breast pump company when I was, I think I was about 1 or 2, and she saw the need to where, she had me. Well, she had my 3 sisters first.
Well, she had breast pump company.
Yeah.
Oh, so it started as a breast pump company.
Yeah, that was her first company, and so she
Probably looking at you, right?
I was 10 pounds 14 ounces.
Yeah,
so
look
it could
at
have something to do with
machine.
it.
If I could make one of these. Okay, never mind.
So
I'm just trying to picture this thing.
So she had she tried all the other breast pumps on the market, and there was nothing that was really unilaterally awesome. And so she then set her mission to find a better mousetrap. right?
Nice.
And so she
So to
found,
speak.
yeah. So she did a lot of traveling because at the time, it wasn't super awesome for internet searches, And so she did a lot of traveling. She found a company that she partnered with, and she got the distribution rights. And then she also, I think, made some adjustments to that pump, but that pump wasn't available in the States. And so she got it into the States. She started selling it, and then she ran that business for, I don't know, roughly about 20 years. And then she went on to her second venture, which was a similar company to Metalacos called Prolacta, and that was a company that it was the first company that commercially processed human milk. Because up until that company, the only company that was doing it was Habana, and Habana is a nonprofit company that does that does something similar, but on a really, really small scale. And so once she launched that company, she basically had to choose to whether she was going to take VC money and get it up and running, and babies could start to do better because they have commercially available product, or she wasn't able to get it funded. So she took the VC money, she got very little of the company, and eventually she parted ways from that company because she wanted to make a product that was more accessible to more babies and also worldwide. So then she came up with Metalac in, I think it was 2009. And then
you've been doing it for a while then.
yeah, and then so in 2013, we finally got up in, got our facility up in Oregon built, and then since then we've just kept expanding and selling more product. So now we're to a point where we need to build a larger facility to keep up with the demand because we haven't been selling this past year, and it's just it just grows organically. Yeah. So we need to expand, and we also want to take on sales outside the U.S. So we have a few distribution channels throughout outside of the U.S., but it's growing really fast.
Interesting. That's great. I mean, it started out with seeing the need and then fulfilling that need. Now it's something awesome where, you're practically changing the lives of these babies, and, that's it's saving lives.
So Aaron, the company was in Lake Oswego, Oregon, right? Near
Yep.
Portland.
Yep,
So
still is too.
What made you guys make the decision to come here to Boulder City or Southern Nevada?
So Nevada, the governor's office of Nevada has done a really great job of recruiting businesses. So we applied for a GoEd program, and we were granted the GoEd incentives package. And so we have a lot of rebates and a lot of incentives to locate to Nevada. And so we're going to be moving our corporate headquarters, and our large production facility is going to be here as well.
That's crazy.
Yeah, how many people are you going to be looking at employing here?
So over the next year and a half, I should have about 100 employees.
Which is impressive in a small town like this. It's huge.
Yeah, when you asked me what I wanted out of Boulder, my first thought was that, well, it'd be really nice to have no unemployed. Anybody that wants to be employed should have a job. I don't know how obtainable that is, but it would be really nice to think that could be the case.
Right. Well, I'm excited about not only, you showed me the space. I mean, if you've never seen, like, the Vons building, if you've never seen an empty grocery store, it's an amazing space. It really is. It's just this, like, huge, long space that is just, full of potential, And he showed me a space that it's pretty amazing. But I think also it's the other businesses that might be coming, just your business. I mean, your employees are bringing their family who have other businesses, and so just you moving here is creating other things going on. Can you tell us more about that kind of stuff, that some of the other things that you see?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Boulder City, I really have a lot of confidence in Boulder City, and I think that the chamber has done a really fantastic job, and Michael Mays, as far as getting people to come to town. Jill over at the chamber has just been instrumental for us coming, and then Michael Mays getting us through the local regulatory as far as the building. goes has been really, really helpful. And so now, we see the vision of Boulder City, so we're really trying to bring and pitch ideas for other companies that we know of and that we're tight with to also relocate here as well. So, there's a big draw in Henderson, and there's a lot of really, really big companies that we're affiliated with that are building out in Henderson, but we're really trying to attract people to Boulder. But the only problem is a lot of those people that we know, they need too big a building, and there's just no inventory in Boulder, so that's why Boulder hasn't attracted more of our large friends.
So you think if we had, let's say, a developer and you're interested in building larger buildings, that there'd be a market for that?
Yeah, I think there would, because we have basically everything that Henderson could offer. We have a rural designation by the USDA, so that's kind of interesting for some grants and things like that.
Right.
So that's more enticing than Henderson in certain occasions. So
yeah, it's like Boulder City is considered a rural neighborhood community. So the Department of Agriculture has grants and programs that aren't normally available to Henderson or Vegas, but would be more like Pahrump or Boulder City or Mesquite, something like that.
Yeah, so but I would really love to see, like everybody else, I think, is making sure all these vacant buildings get occupied. Because I really, until we started walking the other day, I didn't realize how many buildings are truly vacant.
Right.
Some of them, it's even coming into town, there's just more and more. So it's a little frustrating because, everybody is, I don't know.
All the Browder buildings. Yeah.
You got the Mills Diner.
Yeah. Well, part of it is repurposing. Yeah, we're going to have, on May 12th, we're having the Boulder City Historical Preservation Committee is having a repurposing of historic buildings. One of it is because the city owns a lot of historic buildings, but, the greenest building and probably the cheapest building, when you look in the big picture of it, is repurposing an existing building. By the time you tear it down, all those resources that went into building that building, then putting a new building in, the existing building is always greener. You can say that it costs more to refurbish it than to build a new one, but if you look at the whole footprint of the thing,
you're going to want to look at square footage, the electrical service feed, and maybe your
there's things like
sewage coming in.
ADA, things, constructions, like a lot of the buildings in Boulder for cities, for example, really weren't built to last, but some of them were, like on the avenues, they were temporary shelters and they're still there. And they're worth preserving, but it's a little harder because they weren't really built well in the first place. But then we have the water treatment, the water filtration plant, which is a beautiful building, built excellent, and that could be repurposed into something else.
Yeah, I went over that place. Is really cool.
Yeah, or grocery store. That's the nice number one blight on it. It's like big retail spaces like this, where he's already where Aaron is working in. It's like he's transforming that grocery store space into something different. And I'm just kind of curious what his business, kind of the synergies that create in that whole area. I think it's going to kind of change the makeup of it all.
You got 100 people there. You're gonna want some food next to it,
right?
Because those people got to take lunch. They're gonna have to get snacks or some food. So
right.
Toto's is gonna pop off.
Services, Well, we also have to look at affordable housing, where these people are gonna live, and things like that. It's very exciting.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens on the transition from coming into town to the old town area. I think that's going to be really important to make that really walkable and accessible.
Yeah. Well, Aaron, really appreciate you being part of Bold Boulder.
Thank you.
And hope you come again and tell us. Actually, I like to interview you probably after you break ground and kind of starts happening and you actually start operating and stuff, and just kind of get a recap and figure out, hey, what's happening now? What's the newest challenges and what are the opportunities, and get another report.
Great.
Anyway, hey, this is Bold Boulder, episode 6. Thanks for viewing.
Peace.